Welcome to the CXM Experience. As always, I'm your host, Grad Khan, CXO, Chief Experience Officer at Sprinkler, and kind of excited, actually. This is going to be a fun week. I'm just going to have a really good time with something I've never done before, which is to talk at length about Super Bowl commercials. And maybe a little bit of Super Bowl and a bunch of stuff here and there. I mean, the Super Bowl is just, for me, a kind of incredibly visceral experience. You know, I'm a naturalized American, so I'm new to the country. Lived in the U.S. when I was very young, born in Canada, but lived in the U.S. when I was very young. Kind of got pulled away and really spent most of my life, and I'd say a good percentage of my adult life, trying to get back to the U.S. Finally made it in 2015. So it's only been about 6 years, not even that, probably about 5 and a bit years. And, the Super Bowl just is this iconic moment of Americana that I think Americans do appreciate it. I mean, as evidenced by everyone getting together and having a party and eating 7-layer dip and Cheetos and everything else. But it's really special. This year, with the flyover by the three bombers, the B-52, the B-1, and the B-2, the singing of what appear to be two different national anthems that you have, all the different things that happen in that game, and the way that they incorporated all the challenges of COVID, I thought it was particularly clever. They had 20,000 first responders in the stadium, and then they had 45,000 cutouts to keep everyone distanced and to make the stadium look full. What was really cool is that those cutouts were sponsored. So you could sponsor one, entered into a draw to get a ticket to next year's Super Bowl. You paid for them, and then your face would be on one of those cutouts. It's kind of neat. So it was quite a wide variety of people who'd sort of sponsored these things, and they were in the quotation marks in the stadium while not in the stadium. So anyway, the Super Bowl is just a really special event. And, I've been to a number of Super Bowl parties over the years, sort of kind of really moved to the U.S. in about 2006 and went to a number of parties. But I got to say that for the most part, for a variety of reasons, I rarely have been able to watch the game or the commercials. And it's like a variety of reasons. One year it was just way more interesting to hang out with a bunch of really interesting women in the kitchen. Kind of went that way. One year it was just, I was running our customer experience center at Microsoft, and we were actually live tweeting during the game. And so we were super taken with that. So it was the game was sort of kind of in the background, but we were obviously trying to run our social piece there. That was really fun. Last year had a really fun party with Rachel. It was just great. A bunch of our friends over. It was a great evening, great day. Don't remember a second of the game. In fact, I had to remind myself who was playing last year and who won. I think I may have seen a bit of the halftime show, which was pretty cool. J-Lo and Shakira. That I didn't miss that, but otherwise, it was mostly a blur. And then, the reasons pile up. But the NFL made a change in about the early 2000s. They made a change, and they added a week to the schedule. So traditionally, the Super Bowl had always been near the end of January, but sometime within January. They added a week to the schedule, and it pushed it into early February. And in 2010, for the very first time, the Super Bowl fell on February the 7th, which happens to be my birthday. And in 2016, it fell on February 7th again, still my birthday. And this year, 2021, it fell on February 7th again, also my birthday. So it was pretty cool to have my birthday and the Super Bowl. Now, I'm not going to get into all the details, but I had an amazing birthday this year. Rachel was it was over the top. It was incredible. Had an amazing day, amazing time. I'm in Florida. It was warm, beautiful weather. I just couldn't have been more perfect. Fantastic gifts, great food. And the whole thing was absolutely heavenly. And then got to see the Super Bowl. It was really nice. And kind of got to see the Super Bowl Because as well, when you've got other people over, there are things going on, you might be watching a bit of the game, but you're kind of jumping up and jumping down, jumping up and jumping down, kind of missing things. This year, I just literally sat on this ridiculous love sack couch that I've talked about before in previous podcasts, and which is like crazy comfortable. It's almost too comfortable, but there's no such thing as too comfortable, but it's almost too comfortable. And just watch the game and watch the commercials. It was a glorious experience. And so I thought what would be kind of fun this week is to spend a bit of time talking about those Super Bowl commercials. And I might spend a moment or two talking about the halftime show. I want to just kind of do that right now for a second. So the halftime show featured The Weeknd, who's actually a Canadian artist. So it's kind of cool. And surprising number of hits. Most people have not heard of The Weeknd, but you're like, I know who that artist is. But I don't know. I mean, I guess I haven't seen every single halftime show, but I've seen a few. And there's a really great sort of ranking of halftime shows and sort of all the halftime shows. And so far there have been a total, and just, history on this is kind of interesting too. There've been a total of 29 halftime shows. I'll tell you what the first one was in a second. In terms of the modern era, so we'll call it the modern era of halftime shows. And The Weeknd came in at number 16, which I thought was pretty good. I mean, well within the top half of halftime shows. I thought it was terrible, so I would have put it closer to 29. But nonetheless, it kind of came in halfway on some of these lists. The halftime show, just for most of you may know this, but for many, many years, it was really just college marching bands. And occasionally, Andy Williams would show up, or there was a group called Up With People, very big in the 70s. They've actually still to this date done the most halftime shows, and they've done 5 or 6 of them. But in 1993, Michael Jackson did the halftime show and turned it into must-watch television, and everything was different after that. So that's sort of the history of the Super Bowl halftime. So generally speaking, 1993 is viewed as the beginning of the modern era of halftime shows. And what do you think the most popular and the highest rated halftime show would be? Think about that for a second. Madonna, very close. Number 2, also an amazing one. Beyonce and Destiny's Child, also very close, but number 3. Katy Perry, my favorite one, came in at number 5. Now, still thinking? Michael Jackson actually only came in at number 9, which is interesting. Lady Gaga was an excellent show, number 10. Jennifer Lopez and Shakira, that was last year. That was awesome. That is number 11. That's maybe close to number 1 for me. Number 1, it's hard to argue, was Prince. Not only that it was Prince, and not only that he did a bunch of his great songs, and he had a kind of tip of the hat to the marching bands with the Florida A&M University marching band team, but he played, Purple Rain, in the rain. I don't know how he arranged the rain to happen at that time, but he killed it, right? So that was awesome. So let's go to the commercials. And we're actually going to spend a bit of time on this because, people sort of popularly talk about buying a Super Bowl commercial as the way to kind of get noticed. And what's interesting about Super Bowl commercials is there's sort of 3 factors which I think are fascinating. One is that it's become quite fashionable now to release your Super Bowl commercial before the Super Bowl. People can kind of see it and sort of talk about it. So there's some buzz in the air before it appears on the air. Most Super Bowl commercials are a minute, which is wonderful. It's a great creative landscape to sort of paint on. It's just amazing to have a whole minute to do a commercial, which, at one point in time in the 1960s was the standard unit, but geez, a minute, it's just amazing. And then they have all these recaps. So you can go to all sorts of different sites where they have all the commercials. They talk about which ones are best. People argue about them. So what's interesting about Super Bowl commercials is that the commercials, they're actually reasonably expensive. Generally run around $5.5 million for 30. So it's usually not double, but it's probably like $8 million for 60, something like that. But you get all this earned media out of it. And so the question is, can you create something that's interesting enough to drive earned media? And so the way I'm going to sort of evaluate these ads is I'm going to evaluate them from an earned media and sort of social currency standpoint. Because there's no way, although the reach is good, there's a lot of people doing a lot of things during the Super Bowl ad breaks. For example, going to the washroom. So you can't count on these ads as being like massive reach necessarily. But what you can count on them as being is big news if you do the ad correctly. And so what I'm going to do, I'm not going to go through every single ad, but I'll talk about like a few that I thought were maybe interesting, maybe ones I reacted to, ones I thought were funny, ones that I genuinely laughed at and sort of, thought was like, oh, that's really cool. I'll watch that ad again. Or I thought they'd done a nice job on it. And I'm going to start with Amazon Alexa. My Alexa just beeped in the background. It's okay, Alexa. Nope, stop it. And they did an ad with Michael B. Jordan, which was the Alexa of one of the actor's dreams. And so basically the idea is they're looking at the new Alexa, which is really cool. It's essentially a sphere, very cool form factor. And the comment is, what would be a sexier vessel for a voice command on a device than this? And one of the actors looks out the window, sees a bus with a poster of Michael B. Jordan, and then begins to fantasize about Michael B. Jordan being the vessel for Alexa.
It's just flawless, isn't it?
We think so. Yeah.
I mean, I literally couldn't imagine a more beautiful vessel for Alexa to be inside. Alexa, how many tablespoons are in a cup?
There are 16 tablespoons in a cup.
Babe, food just got here. Why you cooking? Who's that?
Alexa, turn on the sprinklers.
Honey, I already ran the sprinklers. Things are getting way too wet around here.
Alexa, dim the lights.
Alexa, lights up! Alexa, lights up!
Add bath oils to my shopping list.
Alexa, no, don't do that.
Read my audiobook.
I was in his hands. I was being changed.
Yeah.
Realized that I was also kissing him.
Honey, other people have to use the bathroom around here too.
It's super funny. And there's a longer version that they ran during the game. And then after the game, they ran a slightly shorter version as well. And Alexa's actually talking to me right now. Thank you very much. And I thought it was really clever because what they did is they managed to take something that was very prosaic, which they essentially demoed Alexa just doing things like getting the weather, doing a recipe, reading an audiobook, like just doing stuff, right? All the things you could do with Alexa. So it was like old-fashioned product demo advertising, but done in a way that was super interesting, super engaging. The actress who was doing the fantasy was fantastic. She did a great job on it. Michael B. Jordan was Michael B. Jordan. What would you say there? He killed it. And the whole thing just had a real charm to it. And it could have come off weird. It could have been a little bit, I don't know, could have been too dirty, could have been too weird, could have been too strange. I thought they managed to sort of really walk the line. And I will say generally, Amazon advertising has been very strong. Whoever's doing that work and whichever agencies are involved, doing an amazing job of creating very watchable, very rounded advertising that feels very human, larger than life, but very kind of contained at the same time. It's quite an extraordinary sort of brand story that they're building around their advertising, and I kind of applaud anyone who's involved in that. So great work. I'll do one more today, and then we'll kind of hit this. We got a whole week ahead of us, so I'll hit this again tomorrow. But the second one I'm going to hit is Squarespace. Now, I will fault this ad for one thing, and I'll tell you that in a second. But it was really quite a beautiful ad, like a beautiful ad. It was actually directed by an Oscar winner, Damien Chazelle, and it's basically Dolly Parton singing not her famous song 9 to 5, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., but an altered version, which is 5 to 9, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And basically the idea is, hey, they sort of start with people kind of at these boring jobs, potentially over dramatized, but it's fine. I would say that if you're that bored about your job, maybe you should find another job. It was pretty brutal. But then 5 o'clock comes around and bam, off you go for your passion. Essentially side gig land, right? So what's your side gig? And then they show all these people flowering and moving and becoming dancers and in gardens. And, just like they start to scuba divers, they start to live the lives they really want to live.
Working 5 to 9, you've got passion and a vision, 'cause it's hustling time, a whole new way to make a living. Gonna change your life, do something that gives it meaning, with a website that is worthy of your dreaming. 5 to 9, you keep working, 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 work at 5 to 9, till your dreams come true. Work at 5 to 9, you keep dreaming, dreaming, dreaming. 5 to 9, 5 to 9, you can do it.
There's an undercurrent of sort of incredible sadness about that, if you really want to go there. And, I'll say that people who I respect, Yoli Chisholm being one of them, actually do a really great job of pursuing the life they want to live, not just 5 to 9, but kind of they do it 24 hours a day. But let's leave that aside for a second. That's a kind of bit of a heavy social commentary. Squarespace is all about, hey, if you've got a side gig, we'll make it easy for you to pursue it. The reason I'd fault the ad slightly, beautiful ad, very engaging, I watched it very closely, is that Squarespace is just right at the last second. And I would say that the idea of side gigging it, very well communicated, but the idea of Squarespace and why Squarespace is something that helps you run your side gig. Now, I know Squarespace quite well because I actually have used it in the theater, sort of my theater life. But does everyone even know what Squarespace is? So I think it probably would have been potentially not a horrible idea to take a few seconds up front to introduce the idea of Squarespace and what it does, and then kind of play it out. But I get it. I get how they did it that, and I'm talking about it right now. So maybe I'm wrong, but really worth watching. 5 to 9. By Squarespace. Anyway, so that's today. We're going to continue talking about Super Bowl commercials for the next few days, and I might throw in and pepper a few Super Bowl halftime show commentaries as well. But for today, that's it. This has been the CXM Experience. I'm Grad Khan, and I'll see you next time.